What up, everyone? Shark here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you've been enjoying the content from the 2v2 tournament that I just ran with Turtle War and Rather Splendid Cromwell. We're getting back into CAS and analysis. This one a little bit more in the level up category. What I've got for you is a double header between SmeltedElk and American playing DAK and Princess and American playing Brits. So back-to-back games, literally one right after the other. Very similar builds. Players around 1200 elo. So really interesting contrast in the way the game changes between the first map, which is Langres, and the second map, which is Djebel Pass. So hope you'll enjoy. There's a lot to take away from these. And as always, let's get to it. Kicking off game one of our doubleheader here, we have SmeltedElk in blue playing DAK. Starting with his Panzer Pioneers and his CoH3 in here. And then opposite him, we have Princess in red, who's immediately locked in Canadian Shock. You see a second sapper, now section command post coming up. We're obviously on Langres here. Pretty symmetrical map. I tend to favor the left-hand side. I mean, I rotate, so either way it's going to be the left, but just because it's a lot harder, I feel, to hit this cutoff. And so you're much more likely to be able to hold on to that fuel, that plus 16 munitions. But also with, was it 5 plus 16 munitions points on this map? There are a lot of resources available. And I think that makes Canadian Shock very, very strong. So we're going to see from SmeltedElk here, the Panzerjager command unlocking the mine package. I love this. I know it can be a little bit abusive, but it is really fun to play and use the mines sneakily. The butterfly bombs are a little bit of a separate story. But interesting to me that Elk is actually favoring the right-hand side of the map here with all of his units, just because I feel it's a lot easier to cut off. This cutoff point's easier to hit, and if you don't own the center VP, you get cut off as well. Dingo out on the field. This is smart from Princess. Dingo is a really good counter to DAK, both in managing their light vehicles, the CoH3 in particular, and then helping bleed down their infantry. Obviously, DAK, very sensitive to manpower bleed. Plus with the Brit base artillery is so good right now. And the Dingo, once it gets vet, having access to that is super useful. Nice kiting here from Elk. He is floating a little bit of manpower. And just, you know, notice at the start, a little bit slow to get his Pioneers moving. I wonder what the thought process is here. His CoH3 shies away from the sappers, which I think is fair. You could always go and just try to kite them a little bit. And so I am interested in the capping order. Getting a second Panzer Grenadier out. Yeah, this is so I like the thought process behind getting a green cover, but at that range, the Dingo's at point blank, so the green cover actually does not help you. And so this engagement is interesting. I would consider bringing in the CoH3 to help. The Dingo obviously has a frontal firing arc, so CoH3 is valuable on the flank. Getting it vetted up is nice as well. So now an infantry section hits the field. This is not an engagement that you want to take as DAK. You're just going to bleed here. The section's really good in cover with the Dingo in support. There, now the CoH3 getting in on the action here. Second P-Grand squad moves up. And so chipping away a little bit at the Dingo. It's interesting because it looks like the models here, like they think about shooting at the Dingo and then they shoot at the infantry section. But you can just see how unfavorable that trade is for Panzer Grenadiers at range. Oh, now the Recce package pops. Oh no, CoH3 in serious danger going down here if the Dingo can flip around. But it doesn't. CoH3 gets away, and now Dingo in danger. But unable to chase. So the Dingo itself will get away. 2 sappers on the field. It's going to get repaired quickly. Sappers. Yeah, okay. He pulls them off. They don't quite finish the cap. P-Grens in base, ready to go. The CoH3 in here doing self-repair. This is another one of those things you gotta be really careful with the self-repair in the timing and location, because you cannot cancel and you cannot move the vehicle until it's complete. Now, getting an MG34 out, which I think is really, that's kind of an interesting choice. The Canadian Shock healing pops on this section. Man, they are bleeding, not bleeding, bruising quite a bit. The Dingo, very, very low health. You'd love to see like a Panzer Pioneer or the CoH3 dive it in that situation. SmeltedElk holds on to his cutoff there. MG34 on the way out. I don't... two sections now, a Canadian shock section on the battlefield for Princess. We'll see how the MG34 gets used. It is an infantry-heavy build, but my concern as DAK against the Brits is always that early Humber. You know, we're about a minute away from an aggressive Humber build, and unless you have some sort of AT to deal with it or push it off, it can really start to bleed you down. MG34 is going to find the sappers, but not going to be able to prevent the decap here. The sappers just retreat. Oh yeah, Elk finally capping this +1 on the flank. So the Brits have had, Princess has had a fuel advantage for most of this game so far. And fire support elements coming in, but until the flak filling hits the field, Elk is at a disadvantage numerically and from a quality perspective against the Brit infantry. But yeah, these Panzer Pioneers, they just need to retreat. Nice. MG34 forces the retreat. That was probably a little bit reactive on Princess's part. Yeah, this is interesting positioning here. The MG34 obviously focused on holding this cutoff, but he doesn't have any resources connected to it. And now the Dingo fully healed at Vet 1. There's some danger here to this machine gun. Oh. Who hit the mine? Sap. Oh, the S mines over here. That's nice. 3 sappers picked up from a couple of S mines. As soon as you see that against DAK, as soon as you see those S mines, minesweepers everywhere. You gotta have them. Okay, I was about to say, this is an interesting build. You've got the half track, which is probably going to come up and pop healing, but also building an assault grenadier. Yeah, so this is smart, bringing on the half track to manage the healing, but the lack of map presence is problematic because this fuel control is going to get only get worse in Princess's favor. Already floating 120 fuel. Nice smoke from the assault grenadiers. You could potentially use that to close and really beat up those Canadians. Looks like he's going to move up with the machine gun. Oh, the Panzerjager half track. Oh, but the Panzerjagers aren't on prioritized vehicles. There they go. And unable to close out the Dingo. Section moves up, tries to get a sticky bomb off, but fails to do so. Nice push through here in the center. Assault Grenadiers supported by an MG34. Sapper's actually taking quite a bit of damage. So this is good play here in the center, and SmeltedElk taking control, but all of these sections in these garrisons, Princess is going to be able to sit. Oh man, Sapper's still clearing landmines with their feet over here. Fortunately, they didn't lose any models on that one. No healing up in base. You got the Dingo for healing, and that's about it. MG34 covering any additional pressure on the cutoff, but again, there's nothing... Looking at the cut, like there's nothing on the opposite side of the cutoff worth contesting. And then now these recce sections with artillery packages hard counter this MG34. Nice cutoff here by the Panzer Pioneers. So this fuel not doing anything for Princess. Crotches has an opportunity to go cap it at this point. Panzerjager's moving into the center. Princess has spent some fuel. Still doesn't have tier 4. Artillery comes in. Dingo is sitting a little static. P-Jaegers can get another shot off here. And they will. Dingo knocked out. What did Princess spend his fuel on? And now the flak filling's on the field. I think the flak filling is basically required as DAK to manage all of the buffs that come to the Canadian infantry. Third section on the field for Princess. Canadians forced off by the flak filling. This Assault Grenadier half track. I would like to see Elk be a little bit more aggressive with it, focus less on capping and more on using this to close with and force retreats from the Brit infantry. That frees up your other elements to cap. Princess going Steward, which is an interesting choice. And then the other thing here, I know that, you know, Elk has been the one laying mines. At this point, oh, nice grenade. Just a little bit of chunk damage, but that's about it. The section doesn't see it to react to it, but I like the idea of the grenade on the door. There's another one. And they're just going to tank it. Well, Elk getting his med truck out, which I think is smart. Yeah, this is not like CoH3. Oh, ironically, Princess is going to retreat anyway. In CoH3, you could get an advantage over a garrison by being in green cover. You can't do that in Company of Heroes 3. Elk floating a little bit of manpower here, and I would think about investing in either some upgrades, veteran squad leaders, vehicle survival package for your flak-for-ling, or an anti-tank gun. You haven't seen vehicles in a while. You know your opponent has had really good fuel control. I would be worried. I know we see a Steward on the way. I'd be worried about a Crusader within the next couple minutes either way. So you need something that can hard counter it. Assault Grenadiers, oh man, they're just bleeding like crazy. They try to get grenades off, but they kind of whiff. At least they were free. And the half-track forced off, so nice push here from Princess to reoccupy the Eastern VP and start to put pressure on Elk's fuel. If I had to guess, I would, now that we have healing up in both HQs, I would say that it's unlikely both players are really heavy TAC map users, just because we occasionally see units idle. Oh, the game about coming in. This MG34 is toast. Wow, 2 models survived the initial blast. Here comes the Steward. Panzerjager's perfectly positioned. Yeah. And look at these Panzer Grenadiers supported by the Crotchets and burning down the shock troopers. They're not going to get the kill, but that was really nice play there. Steward forced away. Now the Panzer Grenadiers have to retreat, but so does the Brit infantry blob. And then over here you see Elk with his Pioneers. He should be laying down, I'd be throwing down Regal mines, S mines, considering getting a minesweeper out, because you know sappers have been crawling across the map here. Princess going for a second Steward, and Elk again. He's just been low on fuel. The fuel harassment for Princess has been really good, and so he's not in a position, you know, cost 50 fuel for that flak for lane, not in a position to even get tier 4 out. And I think side-teching to tier 3 would be potentially a waste at this point with multiple Stewards already on the field. There's also some value. Yeah, I know the Assault Grenadiers with the half-track is a really potent combination. He is floating a fair amount of manpower. I think with the Steward, getting the half-track, potentially getting... He has vehicle survival, but potentially getting the combat half-track upgrade. Throwing the Panzerjagers in there as a more mobile anti-vehicle counter to the Steward. Yeah, Assault Grenadiers, I like this. They're going to screen the half-track. Half-track can pop smoke, and does. And it looks like... Oh, it's got to keep backing up, otherwise the Steward will find it. Second Steward here. Panzerjagers are rotating over. Yeah, the Assault Grenadiers have to be careful they don't just bleed. And I would honestly keep the flak filling away from this. At Vet 1, it has the ability to fire the anti-vehicle rounds. I'm not sure if they're... I think they're considered armor piercing. They apply a little bit of a stun effect to vehicles. But I would not want to put this flak filling in a position where a Steward can catch it off guard and kill it, just because it is so critical in managing this Brit infantry, which the MG34 is clearly failing to do. Infantry section forces a retreat there. Oh, these Panzer Grenadiers. This retreat path could be ugly. Through the artillery, Steward potentially able to chase. That hurts, but it looks like they're going to escape. Oh no, 250 knocked out by the double Steward. Panzerjager's doing damage to the Stewards, but honestly should not chase at this point. So Princess gonna back off for some repairs. Oh no. The sticky bomb comes in on the Koch3, but the flak filling's there to cover, so it'll be able to get away. That 2 Koch3 is pretty nice. Want to keep that alive as much as possible. This half-track, yeah, just needs repairs in headquarters. Worth noting, Elk has done a great job managing the VPs. He's got Princess down to about 250. Princess going for the infantry training now, which given the infantry heavy build, I think this makes a lot of sense. The Stewards, in fact, if you get the tank commander upgrade on them, will buff the infantry even more, but the infantry training, increased veterancy, and then flat buffs to reload rate, received accuracy, and rate of fire. So pretty beneficial, especially in an infantry heavy build, especially with the Canadian Shock battle group. You see he's unlocked incendiary munitions and pyrotechnics, so all those grenades are just going to hit a little bit harder. Elk is going to reapply some VP pressure here. It looks like he's going to try to get a triple cap on. Princess harassing the fuel. Elk finally getting his tier 4 out. Stewards are healed, or repaired, and headed back out. Nice placement on the MG34. I wonder if he thinks it's in yellow cover here, but it's not. Now the Panzerjager's able to do some work. I would consider investing some of this manpower into veteran squad leaders at this point. With all this infantry on the field, second squad of Panzerjagers, 1 upgraded into the tank busters. The increased veterancy and the other buffs from the veteran squad leaders really helpful. Plus your P-Jagers, or excuse me, your Panzer Grenadiers will hold up better against these infantry sections. Oh, that Gammon bomb. He doesn't see it. Oh no, Panzer Grenadier squad annihilated. And now here come the Stewards. Flak filling pops smoke. The Piat squad forced away. Tank hunters close by for the Stewards and on prioritized vehicles, ironically. Yeah, this is where from Elk, the other option that I would really like to see is maybe the emergency repair kits for the extra 80 HP and the self-healing to keep these vehicles on the field. Either one, I think, go a long way. Oh no, these assault grenadiers could be in serious trouble if the Stewards decide to chase. Fortunately, they don't. This flak filling at half health, though, cannot hang around. The tank hunters are finally 1 squad moving up in a position to support. Rifle grenade comes in. MG34 takes a ton of damage. Oh, grenade assault. And then the Shrek to follow it up. Nice kill on the Steward. Really well played by Elk. And now enough resources for a Panzer III. With the loss of that Panzer Grenadier squad, I think leaning even more into vehicles is probably the answer, especially before my greatest fear playing against the Brits is a Crusader swarm, which is very doable in this time frame. More artillery inbound. So Elk soft retreats away from it. He doesn't need to commit to the center VP. He already owns it. Oh, this infantry section with the stolen MG34 LMG. That is painful to see. Flak filling really in desperate need of repairs. Oh, Koch3 gets knocked out. I don't even know. Was that the Piat that did that? It's so hard to see when the Piat actually launches. Panzer III on the way. Oh, this Stewart should be done. Between the Panzerjagers, the Shrek comes in, a second Stewart knocked out. Panzer III hits the field, and then I really don't see Princess floating a ton of fuel, but I really don't see a way into this, with the exception of maybe a crocodile. Right now, though, with the triple cap. Oh, nice play. Oh, the rifle grenade. I thought it was coming on MG34. Wow, assault grenadiers have to be careful. P3 and flak filling force away some of the Canadian infantry here. But look at the map control that Prince has been able to accumulate in the last couple of minutes. And so there's not going to be enough fuel for SmeltedElk for him to really invest in many more vehicles. Obviously, manpower income will continue to come in. Yeah, no additional kind of tech. Crocodile has been unlocked. So it looks like that's the plan from Princess. Man, the assault healing for the Canadians just makes it so much easier to stay on the offensive. You don't have to retreat back or find ways to heal your units. You just continue to advance. It's very powerful. The offensive resupply is also a great bonus for the Canadians. I don't think it's as required on this map just because the amount of munitions. All right, Crocodile hits the field. And we'll see. Princess has done a great job flipping map control after losing 2 Stuarts. And worth noting, SmeltedElk does not have hard AT on the field. I know the tank busters have a Panzerjager, but I think you really need either a Martyr or an anti-tank gun to manage something like a Crocodile. And even then, Crocodile can probably consistently bounce those shots from the front. Nice smoke from the Assault Grenadiers to grab that center VP. Alright, so the tank busters, tank hunters obviously grouped up together. We're spreading a little bit. Sappers come in a little bit of attack round through the smoke, and now the Crocodile arrives in the middle, knocking over some trees. And the combination of the flamethrower and the 2-pounder gun. Oof. Is it a 2-pounder or a 6-pounder gun on the Churchill? It's probably a 6-pounder. I'm not giving enough credit. Ooh. MG34 sliver health goes down to the section. Weirdly enough, the tank hunter section's kind of soft retreat a little bit. P3 already getting debuffed by the pyrotechnics. MG34 picked up by the section. What are these guys doing? Yeah, that MG34 actually suppressing some of the DAK infantry. Artillery called in. On the side, the Piats knock out a 250. The Assault Grenadiers not going to win that engagement. Blackfielding's moving through the middle. All right, now we see another tank buster upgrade. So more Shreks, but I think probably over-reliance on that as a counter to the Crocodile. SmeltedElk, 600 spare manpower. Yeah, I'd love to see an anti-tank gun. Potentially, some upgrades for these vehicles, a penetration tungsten rounds upgrade for the P3 to help him. Oh no, this Vet 3 tank buster squad. Don't hang out, bud. All right, they retreat. Oh, Panzer Pioneers getting shredded by Canadians. Look at this push here. Double vet Canadian shock troopers pushed all the way up. Panzer 3 on just a sliver of health here. That's actually dangerous. First Piat shot comes in and hits. So this, the squad of Panzer Grenadiers, this is very dangerous. And the Crocodile just on a sliver of health. There's the Pack 38. Okay. And Panzer Grenadiers vacate the building. Sappers force them away. Crocodile can chase a little bit. Sappers obviously going to spend some time repairing this Crocodile. But man, Elk has just been shoved right back into his base. The loss of the Panzer Grenadiers was huge. The shock section here, now hitting Vet 3, so durable. And the Piat allows them to contest vehicles, right? So they can just kind of shove off anything they run into, at least go toe-to-toe with it. And on the opposite side, the Crocodile. And then let's not forget about all the other Brit infantry, now supported by 2 machine guns, 1 Vickers and 1 stolen MG34. It's actually a pretty dangerous combination, with the exception of heavier, like medium tanks, right? The Piat is kind of similar to the Shrek in that it doesn't really hard counter any sort of medium tank or anything heavier. Elk can get another P3 out here shortly. The Crocodile does a better job than you'd expect, because it does have, its main gun will consistently pen something like a Panzer 3, and its front armor is so high. Oh, smoke operation called in. This is a really nice play from Princess. It's going to continue to force the Pack 38 back and limit its ability to shoot I wonder if we're going to see the grenade assault here onto the croc from these tank busters. First couple of Shrek shots come in, but they're standing still for some reason. And just like that, I'm not really sure what's happening. Elk's unit's kind of sitting still. Both tank buster sections go down, and it looks like Elk's going to surrender. Okay. So that was an unusual one. Okay, so since this is a double header, I'm going to do a little bit of an abbreviated kind of build order review and think about the things that if I were, you know, in Elk's shoes or sitting back and coaching, the things that I would consider. So build order first, you saw from Princess, 2 sappers, Dingo, 2 sections, Canadian section, then a 3rd section of Vickers, the Stuart tech, double Stuart into Crocodile. I thought the Stuart tech was an interesting choice, so it did allow him to conserve. I'm assuming it's a him, it could be a she, I apologize. It did allow Princess to conserve some fuel, not have to build a company command post, and roll into the Crocodile, but the Stuarts were not as effective as they could have been for a couple of reasons. One, they were kind of tossed away in some sloppy close range engagements, and then 2, without getting the upgrades for them, with the Canadians, you should have a decent amount of munitions. If you choose offensive resupply, then you can really spam special abilities. The tank commander buffs your infantry, so if you are playing with an infantry heavy build, the Stuart with the tank commander is a really, really nice choice to help them just kind of accelerate their DPS and improve their survivability, especially against units like a build like Elk executed with the DAK, right? So it's kind of an infantry heavy DAK build, which can be powerful, but can also be self-defeating based on the way their tech choices go. Primary tech choices for Princess were infantry training and rifle grenades. Everything else was kind of pretty standard Battlegroup unlocks. Now, for SmeltedElk, we saw Panzer Pioneer, Kreuzschützen, 2 Panzer Grenadiers into the Tier 2 tech, MG34, Assault Grenadiers, Panzerjagers, Flak-Verling, eventually Tier 4, Panzer 3. There were periods where he was floating a lot of manpower, and the KD was actually good for most of the game, as was the VP control. So what I would prefer to see from a DAK player is to use that manpower control to either get the Assault Grenadiers, they can be good. They didn't really have the impact that you want in this game. I'd almost rather see a 3rd Panzer Grenadier and investment into veteran squad leaders if you're going to play this infantry heavy, or if you're playing against someone who wants to spam sections like this, then playing a little bit more into the light vehicles, maybe going Tier 3, 8-rod, Stug D, that sort of thing, can give you a little bit more resistance to manpower bleed, right? It's interesting because the Canadian shock troopers on the field, no AT guns from either side until the very end. They're that Pack 38. So I feel like 8-rod Stug Ds would have done just fine until the Croc hit the field. And then if you have Tier 3 up, you can build Martyrs to deal with the Crocodile. The Panzer III can manage the Crocodile as a problem. You saw they got it down to about a 3rd health, but it's not a hard counter. And a lot of that comes down to fuel control. From a map perspective, I would have preferred to see Elk focus more on the left side, like left-hand side of the map from his point of view, so he could guarantee he has at least 1 + 10 fuel and 2 + 16 munitions, right? Fight the left side and fight through the center. Use harassing play when you can. I would also like to see just a little bit more activity, like a higher APM, especially with something like the Kreuzschützen. Langres, it's not easy cutoff play, but it is very subject to cutoff play. So using the Kreuzschützen to kind of work around the Brit infantry, not necessarily blobs, but they're very concentrated pushes that Princess was executing. To use the Kreuzschützen to kind of get around that and cut off some of those resources. A couple times you saw the MG34 covering a cutoff, but there were no resources to hold on to with the cutoff, right? So you're preserving some manpower income, but it's not as helpful as you think. So every now and then, kind of taking a step back and thinking big picture, I think is really helpful. I would say the Panzerjager command, super cool. Everyone loves the new commanders. I really like it primarily for the mines. The entrenchment bonus is good, right? You get the combined arms benefit when you're in cover. I also like early warning. The anti-tank overwatch is really, really strong and might have been a good counter to the Croc if you caught it in the right position. All that said, I think there's a tendency to over-reliance on the tank busters. They're good, but they're not a hard counter. So getting an AT gun out a little bit sooner and using it to chip away at those vehicles might have been a safer route to take. So again, quick down and dirty feedback. I thought Princess did a good job of managing the resource piece of it, even though they gave up VPs early and then really kind of collapsing the map on Elk until Elk hit the surrender button. So let's see what happens now that they re-queue up against each other. Literally, I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes after the first game ended, they queue up, hop back into a rematch. So let's see how that one goes. All right, so game 2 of our little doubleheader here. Again, we've got Elk playing DAK in blue, Princess playing Brits in red. This time we are on Djebel Pass, which is a really kind of interesting map. Mainly, to me, it feels gigantic. Relatively high resource, but you can contest either +10 fuel. So I think higher on the munition side, lower on the fuel side overall. This map should really favor, if the players keep the builds the same, then I guess it won't really matter. But this is an opportunity for the Elk to lean a little bit more heavily into a mechanized approach. And so vehicles with the size of the map and kind of the space here should do better against an infantry heavy build. We're going to see the exact same thing from Princess, double sapper into Dingo, and the same start from Elk. Panzerjager command locked in, Canadian shock locked in. So nice little rematch here. I wish that we were back on Langres just to see the changes that the different players would make. But it looks like Elk is just a little bit more locked in from the start. We see just kind of the pace of the units moving out a little bit faster than in the previous game. And the capping order here, I mean, this is the way I think about it. If you're going to fight for this as Elk, if you're going to fight for this +10 fuel, yep, then send your infantry this way and have your CoH3 and kind of countercap the opposite side, potentially harass this cutoff. I would go for the higher resource points first, but this is all fine. All right, so the Dingo stepping in to harass these Panzer Pioneers. Panzer Grenadiers moving up on the flank here. And then the Pioneers, look like they're going to try to hop into some green cover. Again, just keep in mind that green cover, like now the green cover would apply, but when the Dingo's on top of you, it doesn't. Now this is a nice little play there. And actually, Dingo continuing to get penned from the rear because it's driving away and not backing away. It can't shoot back. Oh, this is dangerous. CoH3, and you don't want to be anywhere near all these sappers. It does go loop to loop. That's the other thing to watch out for with the CoH3, and if you leave it kind of unmanaged, it will rotate to face enemies to shoot at them, which then means it's harder to get it away. So something to kind of keep in mind. Looks like he's going to have the CoH3 come over here and do some capping, or at least get repaired. P-Grens slide over to recover. And maybe challenge these sappers a little bit. First section hits the field for Princess. Oh, nice. Good opening salvo from the Panzer Grenadiers. Look, they're going to hop into some green cover here. Also consider using the height advantage. Nice kiting. Remember, you don't have to be aggressive about defending this cutoff. There's nothing on the opposite side of it. But that's a great engagement for Elk. He's already teching up. Second squad of Panzer Grenadiers in the middle, kind of on the flank. Dingo fully healed, however. CoH3, Panzer Pioneers capping on the opposite side. And then this is a scenario where you want to try... Oh, nice. Hopping into the garrison here. That's really smart. Try to set up 2v1 so you can bleed down these infantry sections. I would not worry about the Dingo right now because that damage can be repaired. If you bleed the sections by having both squads shoot at them, especially... There we go. Now the target priority is flipped. Force the section away, then you can deal with the Dingo, which has already taken quite a bit of health damage. Okay, Elk again going for the immediate MG34, which I have to be honest, I think is a little bit more of a mistake on this map. It's too wide open. There are too many lanes for flanks. My concern would be maybe getting a 250 out and being prepared for the potential Humber. Now artillery coming in on this garrison, and it is a relatively low health garrison, so Panzer Grenadiers back up. They successfully dodge. MG34 set up in support. Oh, those Panzer Pioneers, I didn't even see them. They take quite a bit of damage. MG34 not going to be able to suppress this section from here, but still does good, decent damage. Sappers on the flank. That's some good bleed that MG34 is applying to that section. Maybe those two models were out of cover. The sapper commandos here. Now, CoH3 comes in. MG34 stands this ground for now, but now looks like everybody's more or less going to retreat, except for the CoH3 in these Panzerjager. Also worth remembering, the CoH3 provides the combined arms bonus to DAK infantry, so worth keeping it around in contact to maintain that bonus. Princess going for a third section now instead of a Canadian. Oh, no, I changed my mind. So Princess cancels the 3rd infantry section, probably going for shock troops here. Med tent on the way. Also, just worth, don't use the default location for the med tent. Even in 1v1, you can place it in the middle here. Get some healing on the way out of your base so you can get your units back onto the field sooner. Ooh, S-mines coming in on this cutoff. I like this. I like using the S-mines on the cutoff. I'd be more worried about putting S-mines on this cutoff because this is where your fuel is, right? So, yeah, you're defending this cutoff, but you have no resources on this side of the map to concern yourself with. Now it looks like Princess is going to send sappers to contest the appropriate cutoff for SmeltedElk. Offensive resupply activated. So, yeah, instead of the healing, which I actually kind of disagree with this. I think on a map of this side, the healing is more useful, even if you teched it, because it allows your units to stay on the field sooner. Alright, Panzerjager half-track on the way out. Interesting, Elk did not go for Assault Grenadiers yet this time around. This dingo should be scuffed. As long as the, Panzerjagers are on prioritized vehicles, there's no shot of it getting away. Boom, dingo cleaned up. Nice. Good pickup. CoH3 hits Vet 1, which is also really, really valuable. And now going for the cutoff here. Nope. Maybe not. Going for the fuel. Princess has tech grenades. I'm very confused about what this CoH3 is doing at this point. But I guess we'll find out soon enough. Black filling on the way. Alright, so here's another thing I'm going to nitpick. Sticky bomb comes in on the half-track. That's fine. That's just a waste of munitions. There's nothing available to follow up against this half-track. So throwing that sticky bomb, especially when it's a Panzerjager inside of it that's not a huge threat to infantry, you can just retreat and not worry about being run down without spending the munitions on something that's immediately going to get repaired. And remember, all DAK infantry can repair, so even if these pioneers aren't here, Panzerjagers can just hop out, repair this thing to full health. Easy peasy. Already back on the field. Princess, Canadians have hit the field. Have not chosen to go for the Piat yet. It looks like Princess gonna prioritize this side of the map with the fuel, the +10 fuel. Pioneers get bled down just a little bit, but there's actually a lot of DAK infantry here, plus the MG34. Black filling looks like it was going to go challenge these sappers, instead is rotating to the middle. So Princess largely retreating, sappers in a little bit of a soft retreat here. Black filling finds them. Princess very active with the counter capping and harassment though. This play onto the fuel is really nice. And because it's connected, Princess will be able to actually gain the benefits of having this fuel control. And now Princess smartly getting a 6-pounder out now. So slightly less infantry on the field than the previous game. The 6-pounder, when used appropriately, is a good counter to the flak filling. Honestly though, I think like this is the map to try the double Stuart. Run down the flak filling, run down this half track, enough durability when compared to something like a Humber to deal with the Panzerjagers. So player's going to trade fuel here. Vehicle survival packages have been upgraded. I think that's smart. Elk now going for healing for his infantry. Also makes a lot of sense. Panzerjagers in the half track going to cap up. Oh, nice. All right. More S-mines going down. I really like that. 2 sappers on the field for Princess, so they should have access to minesweepers, but you don't always see that as soon as you'd expect. That is like the hard counter to the Panzerjager Battlegroup, is a couple of engineers and minesweepers. Oh no, with the Piet comes in, 250 smoked. That's something, the combat half-track bonus combined with the vehicle survival kits might have helped the 250 survive that. The Piet, my only complaint is it's really hard to see. There's no smoke trail like with the bazookas and the Panzerschrecks. So sometimes it's not clear when the Piet's launched. But pretty solid pusher. The 6-pounder in the back plus the assault flares from the recce section is enough to threaten both the Kratschützen and the Flakverlang. Stun grenade onto the 6-pounder. Interesting choice. Does what it needs to do for the time being. 1 infantry section forced away. Looks like a Vickers out on the field for Princess. Interested in how they employ that and where they place that Vickers. A lot less infantry on the field for Elk this time. So I don't know that the Vickers is necessarily required. And again, the static gameplay makes less sense to me on this map, just with its size and the availability of flank routes. This is where you wish the Canadians would be on prioritized vehicles so that their Piets weren't wasted on these Panzer Pioneers. Flakverlang moving up. Looks like on a little bit of a flank here into the center. Yeah, MG34. So these infantry are kind of in a little bit of a dilemma. If they move out of cover, they're going to get suppressed and be forced to retreat anyway. Well, artillery called in on these Panzer Grenadiers. No infantry training yet. Oh no. I don't think Elk sees this. He's got his tier 4 technique. First round kills 2 models. Yeah, P-Grand's forced to retreat. Otherwise, I think the P-Grands would potentially win that engagement against this section. And also worth noting that artillery is free with the offensive resupply. Nice rifle grenade with the incendiary and pyrotechnic effects. And now they retreat, but man, that artillery is still doing chunk damage to those Panzer Grenadiers. This Kratschützen, it could at least be self-repairing. I understand it's engine critted. That's a shame. SmeltedElk has gone for veteran squad leaders this time. So, even though this game was played, you know, a week ago, he still heard my advice in the interim. Nice. All right, so Regal Mine going down in the center here. Love to see that employed. The engine destroyed is such a nice critical to get. Yeah, this is why I think the Flakverlang is so valuable, in particular against Brits where they play very infantry heavy, and on a map like this where there's a lot of space, because it's the mobile suppression platform. You can just kind of constantly force off these advances and set conditions for your infantry to actually win their engagements. All right, there we go. Kratschützen is repaired, doing some capping on the flank. Another shock section comes in with Piets. Interesting. I think that's potentially a mistake. The shock troops are good, but I think they are very well designed by Relic in that they're used as kind of like really a shock unit, like a breakthrough unit. They can defend themselves against light vehicles. They're very tanky, so they deal well against infantry. But they are expensive, and regular Brit sections are so good. I don't think you need more than one section. Oh, nice positioning from the 6-pounder. Immediately gets a hit off on the Flakverlang. Flakverlang's still moving. Oh no. Oh, fortunately, the 6-pounder loses sight. Must have been on an attack move order. So the Flakverlang able to get away. Oh, Kratschützen almost goes down to the Piet. The vehicle survival kit's critical there. Panzerjagers are trying to cut off the British fuel, but forced away. Yeah, this is exactly the kind of engagement you want as DAK. Panzer Grenadiers, veteran squad leaders, MG34 at long range against sappers. Even in cover, they will win that one very, very handily. More artillery coming in. So the section retreats. Looks like the dodge came in time. The shock troopers harassing this fuel here. Also worth noting, Elk floating. He's got his tier 4 floating quite a bit of manpower, and he's got enough fuel for a P3. Again, on this map, I think mobility, and so I think Princess's decision to really lean into infantry is maybe a little problematic. Oh, the shock troopers hit an S-mine. Wow, a bunch of models go down. Oh, one model, just a sliver of health, getting away, lugging the P-hit over his shoulder. And unfortunate. That was nice placement with the S-mines there. Maybe it's worth thinking about the potential retreat path if a unit comes in to harass. So having the square of S-mines a little bit closer, like en route to the base, maybe you get that wipe on retreat. Vickers in the middle. Oh yeah, if these P-grants just stay in green cover, they will burn it down. I don't necessarily know why they're advancing. I think they were trying to throw a grenade. They would have been good to just stay in green cover. P3 hits the field. Princess has 200 fuel. I don't think the croc stall is going to be the answer this time around. Blackfelling comes in, finishes off the Vickers, provides support against this infantry section. Another section and sappers force away the MG34 and the Panzer Pioneers. 6-pounder able to challenge the P3. Oh, the Sticky's going to come in. Another hit from the 6-pounder. P3 dead in the water here. One more shot from the 6-pounder will do it, or this P-hit from the shock section. And actually the Krautschützen now needs to be concerned about just the damage from the rifles here. Oh, nice. Those S-mines from the beginning paying dividends. Force the Canadians away. The Panzer III is going to escape. Elk, forgive me, I was wrong to judge your placement of S-mines on that cutoff point 15 minutes ago. P-grants challenging the retreat, and actually this is the damage you can do to this 6-pounder on the retreat path. As those poor guys running, just trying to tow this heavy AT gun. AT gun cleared. Now the P-grants, probably their turn to retreat here with the Canadians in close. Blackfelling arrives. Canadians suppress. Oh wow, the P-hit's still doing damage. Oh my gosh, Elk, that's so much manpower. I'd love to see emergency repair kits. At a minimum, maybe rapid advance, so your Flakfelling and your Panzer III can cap. Invest into those vehicles while you wait for the fuel to catch up to support additional army composition. Again, though, we're starting to see kind of the same situation as last game, where Elk, good on KD, good on victory points, but losing the resource battle. Wow, that Gammon bomb comes in. MG34 crew, Vet 2 burns to death from the flames. That's rough. And actually, the Panzer Grenadiers lose 2 models just retreating through the fire. Oh, that's a painful engagement. Maybe we'll see Princess turn it around here. Princess definitely has the fuel for a croc, just needs the CPs and the manpower. The MG34 stolen, the Vickers is recrewed. Another MG34 built. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that decision. Now the 250 with Assault Grenadiers hits the field. With 2 Canadian sections out, that is a much riskier choice, I think. Good for harassing, good for capping, good for harassing sections, good for harassing AT guns. Dangerous against something like the P-hit. Oh, another Gammon bomb comes in. Nice dodge, but look at all the health damage that still did to those Panzer Pioneers. At the very least, Elk is getting control of this fuel. Oh, still no additional tech upgrades. Wow, the MG34 takes like 2 bursts to suppress that section, but the P3 does a lot of chunk damage. Panzer Grenadiers also chipping models away the entire time. So Elk in a good position to potentially get a triple cap on here and get another tank out soon. Worth noting, Elk hasn't teched a minesweeper for his pioneers in either game. With 2 sappers on the field, Princess has had several opportunities to lay mines just to harass his movement. Oh no, the flamethrower under the MG34 does so much damage. It'll escape, but just barely. The flak filling here to suppress infantry, allowing the P3 to do some chunk damage. Panzer Grenadiers arrive. Oh, these sappers could be in trouble. Those Canadians hop in the building here. Assault Grenadiers get close. They cancel their grenade throw because the Canadians preemptively dodge it. Looks like grenade throw is going to come in on the 6-pounder. I love this. 6-pounder tries to back up and is cleared immediately by the assault grenades. Very, very well played. Now, the Canadians in this building, that's a little bit of a harder situation to deal with. 6-pounder recrewed. Oh, yeah. Oh, nice grenade right on the door. Princess sees it, tries to adjust the dodge. Oh, Panzer 3. The recruit 6-pounder also chunking it down, plus the Piat. So Princess doing a good job kind of combining anti-infantry and anti-armor capabilities. And SmeltedElk forced back towards his own base to repair and kind of recoup. The Princess floating so much fuel. Even if you know you're waiting for the... So infantry training has hit. But if you know you're waiting for the Croc and you're waiting for CPs, maybe go for the armored vehicle training as well. Or team weapon training if you're relying on multiple machine guns and anti-tank guns. Just those static buffs to your units, I think, are slept on many, many times. For Elk, a second P3 coming, which I like that choice. That DPS will start to scale. Rodschützen chips away at this, looks like a Vickers. And just going to cap up this VP. But Princess still has the advantage right now on a double cap. And actually, the Rodschützen going for the fuel instead. Both P3s repaired, headed back out onto the field. Half-track getting picked up here. The other thing, so Elk, unlock the tank busters again. I think you should definitely consider the GB39 upgrade instead, especially if you plan on playing with half-tracks quite a bit. Because it also comes with a 300% bonus to vehicle penetration, which... interesting. Okay, so Elk has gone for the tungsten core ammo for the P3s, which I think is valuable now that Croc has hit the field. But I think I would have chosen additional upgrades beforehand. It looks like they thought about putting another Regal down. It was kind of unusual. A couple of Assault Grenadiers died. Another Gambon comes in. Nice dodge. These double P3s, yeah, you can see the green trail from the tungsten ammo. Really, it's going to come down to how well Princess uses this Croc to flip the battlefield. And so the Tank Hunter has been upgraded to Tank Busters. Elk has 2 of the 3 VPs, but again, fuel control is lacking. Yeah, I think in this case, you probably want the P3s to roll around and savage some of these vehicles. Now you see Princess has laid a couple of mines. Oh, knock out this building. Machine gun crew destroyed. Nice pickup there. Tank busters. Oh. Oh, their own mine was set off by the P3. That almost kills the infantry section. 6-pounder in the back, though, doing a lot of work to this Panzer 3. But just now it gets out of range. Sapper's forced to retreat, but that Crocodile can do a lot of damage. Eventually knock out the P3. The flak filling should pop its Vet 1. So Panzer 3 hits smoke to get out of dodge there. Again, Elk floating some decent spare manpower. Another S-mine goes off. Thanks to the crocodile. At the very least, like this, the crocodile can't use his flame projector. You want to wait to throw the sticky bomb until you're a little bit closer to knocking down, getting the health down to half health. Now the Piet on the side armor of the P3. No, P3 needs to get out of there. Princess loses a sapper section to the assault grenadiers in the half track. Panzer Grenadiers going for the sticky bomb. The Croc actually gets the pickup on the P3. Oh no. The other P3 set aside for repairs. This is where those emergency repair kits are super helpful. And all these machine guns, even with the one destroyed, Princess picked up a couple of spares. The assault grenadier half track arrives. You don't even need to pop your assault grenadiers out onto this machine gun if you don't want to. You can just leave them in there. Nice grenade, barrage, Vickers machine gun cleared. Half track's going to get away. Krotschützen is on very low health, needs to not press its luck like it's doing right now. Vet 2 Krotschützen knocked out. More artillery coming in. The assault grens pick up that Vickers. But Elk's infantry forced away. The Croc being repaired right now. Elk needs something with a little bit of heavier AT. For what it's worth, the double Stug G Colin is not the answer. I tried that in one of my own games recently. The Stug Gs do not reliably penetrate the front armor of the Crocodile. But I would consider at this point, with 2 P3s on the field and some of the upgrades, I would like to see more upgrades from Elk, and then potentially armored reserves. Oh, the engine destroyed Crocodile. Finally, that Regal Mine pays off. Sappers are there for repairs. Can Elk capitalize on this? He's got 1 P3. I don't think he sees it. Look at this thing. It can, you know, the Churchills are already very slow. It can barely move, but it is being aggressively repaired by the Sappers, ironically, while it is moving. Instead, Elk just going to grab this fuel. Princess finally building tier 4, and this is really dangerous. With the Croc on the field, you start massing things like Crusaders, and the 2 Panzer 3s are just not going to be able to deal with it. This is hilarious to me. It's moving it like an inch a second, and the Sapper is just welding and effectively repairing it while it's rolling. All right, so Elk is going for rapid advance, which is a really nice choice. You need to get emergency repair kits because a lot of people think about it again for that, you know, idle repair, which is really nice, but it's also the plus 80 health, right? Between that and vehicle survival, that's 120 health. That is a full tank gun shot of additional health for your Panzer 3s. And then all of your vehicles, including something like a Panzer 4, which you can call in with armored reserves. So the Crocodile, engine destroyed, critical, completely removed at this point. Missed opportunity there for Elk, for sure. Croc almost at full health. Both tanks bouncing shots. Tank busters coming. If they could get that grenade assault off, actually doing some decent damage to those sappers who are trying to repair. Oh, 6-pounder in the back does a lot of damage to the P3, so they're forced to back off. Players swapping fuel yet again. The shock troopers of the Piets make such nice harassing units because they really can face down just about anything and not have to worry about at least not getting quickly wiped with the Piet. They can force away up to medium vehicles. Not saying you should use your heavy duty combat units as side flank capping units, but they are effective in that role. More artillery called in. Black Furling forced to displace as well, under pressure from the Piet section. Vickers doesn't adds to the suppression there. So Elk now lower than Princess on VPs, but going to get the situation under control, capping on the flank with the Pioneers. They finally have a Minesweeper now as well. No, I think the answer is probably at this point for Elk is probably a third Panzer III. I would love to see additional tech investment, but there is value in the quantity there and being able to swarm. Oh, Pioneers were trying to lay another Regal. Gonna get suppressed and then harassed. Now a Crusader on the field for Princess. This is dangerous. All that mobility. Third P3 on the way for SmeltedElk. He needs to get good trades. He needs to start knocking out either some of these sections or the Crocodile. This is an odd choice. Oh, he must be pop capped. 250 sacrifice to the population cap gods. Blackfurling and Vickers, stolen Vickers, in infantry section in the center. Man, Princess just has so much fuel. Could be spamming Crusaders right about now. Get that armored vehicle training. Third Panzer III is here. But Elk really needs... Oh my god, though. Look at the KD. That bleed has had a big impact, but really you need to start destroying some of these units, getting rid of some of this veterancy. Nice. Crusader surrounded by 3 Panzer IIIs. And knocked out. Nice pickup for Elk. That's exactly what he needed to do. Another Crusader on the way. But actually these sappers almost certainly going to go down to the P3 train here. Meanwhile, Flakfurling and Vickers covering the center. P3's back off for repairs. Ooh, 6-pounder gets a nice shot in on the Flakfurling. Now the Croc is here. The Crocs don't prioritize vehicles for some reason. That confuses me just a little bit. Alright, so Elk finally unlocks the rest of his battle group options. The butterfly bombs and the anti-tank Overwatch are really, really powerful abilities. Oh, that's the Crocodile Vet 1 bonus. Now here's the anti-tank Overwatch. Oh, big hits onto the Crocodile. P3s are going to dive it. It pops smoke, which actually I think is going to work against the Crocodile because it essentially disables the Croc's gun. It sits in the smoke. P3 gets a shot through the smoke and knocks out the Crocodile. Well, both P3s are almost certainly going to be lost. One pops smoke and backs away. Crusader chases. 6-pounder kills the second. The third goes down to the Crusader. MG34 team knocked out to the infantry section. I don't think that was a good series of trades for Elk. He's trying to play the VP game here. I wonder if he realizes his tank hunters are still on hold fire. Assault Grens pop some smoke. Looks like more S-mines going off. Just some cheeky placement there. Princess has enough fuel to immediately get another Crocodile once the manpower hits. These shock troopers still finding S-mines. All right, Elk's little infantry blob here. Oh, where did are those butterfly bombs? Those must be the butterfly bombs because those are on cooldown. All right, brand new Panzer III hits the field for Elk. Gonna get a slight VP advantage here. Yeah, just in terms of VP control. Blackfurling forces away the harassing section. You'd love to see these vehicles be used to cap as well. Princess a little bit on the back foot with the loss of the Crocodile and one of the Crusaders. More S-mines going down. You're starting to see some late game fatigue here. Elk starting to kind of blob up his Panzer Grenadiers just a little bit. We're 34 minutes in. That is totally normal. And that concentrated firepower is really helpful against something like a 6-pounder. I love these S-mines, especially because 2 sapper squads were knocked out. Princess got another sapper squad out with minesweepers, but it is smart playing all these mines, although you definitely don't want your infantry to crawl around on them. Oh, here come the sappers. Sappers find the S mines. Tank busters move up, but they don't get a shot off. Oh, the Regal found and disabled by the sappers as well. Well, at least Elk has gotten the triple cap on, and now finally has a VP, like a ticket advantage over Princess. Again, floating a ton of manpower. Panzer III tangles to the Piat section on the far flank. Blackfilling moves over. That's going to be more better suited to dealing with these Canadians.
The territory sector has been claimed by the enemy. The victory point is being taken.
Yeah, these Panzer Grenadiers finally in a good spot to tangle with infantry section. Oh, Crusader. Oh, wow. Tries to chase the P3. Can't get the kill and hits a Regal. Its engine is destroyed. Blackfilling on the rear armor could potentially destroy this with the Vet 1 ability. There's got to be something nearby. Elk's got tank busters coming in. He needs to capitalize on this. There it is. Vet 1 ability from the Blackfilling knocks it out. Well done. Nice play. More artillery coming in. Panzer Grenadiers free artillery, by the way, with the offensive resupply. Machine gun's going to retreat. Panzer Grenadiers move up. 6 on 2. Also maybe think about grabbing this flamethrower. Another P3 on the way. Crusader hits the field for Princess. But so much fuel there. The Crusaders are best in a swarm. Individually, they're okay. They start out, I think, on par with the Panzer III, but as the Panzer III gets the armory upgrades, they start to pale in comparison. Oh wow, it's been upgraded to the Crusader 3, so it's upgunned. Assault Grenadiers, nice dodge of the Gammon Bomb. Yeah, and they win that fight at close range against the Canadians with similar vet. Oh, tank busters find the Crusader. This is okay, so that stutter step that you see there, to me, that pretty sure that is attack move for the tank busters. When you have like bazookas, Shrek units, attack move will sometimes result in them doing a stutter step against a vehicle that is backing away rather than attacking at max range and then moving forward. So keep that in mind. It's sometimes better to just tell them to move or to straight up attack to get the shots off against a vehicle that is backing away from them. E3 train coming in, forces away the infantry section. Yeah, double P3s with all the upgrades. 6-pounder team cleared by the Panzer Grenadiers. This Crusader is almost certainly done. One more shot will do it. You gotta be careful about Piat sections in base. But the Crusader knocked out in base. Panzer III is able to drive away. The Piat section's on the flank here. Will they get a shot off? Smoke popped, but a little premature. Piat goes in, does quite a bit of damage. But it looks like both Panzer III is going to be able to get away. Princess has the munitions for a snare. One will come in, but that vehicle is healthy. So we're going to see short crew shock, and then it'll be able to move full speed again. Especially with the rapid advance vehicle speed buff. Now flak filling arrives to suppress. Oh, these Panzer Pioneers. Don't lose your Vet 3 Panzer Pioneers. Now Princess feeling the VP pressure here. Big push on the north side through the cutoff. Going to pick up the 6-pounder with the sappers. But Elk working the triple cap. That means less than a minute for Princess to survive this pressure. A lot of dead Crusaders on the field, and that hurts. Canadians try to get to the VP to remove some of that pressure. They bleed like crazy. Blackfilling has hit Vet 3. Tank Hunter suppressed by a Vickers. Grenade comes in from the Panzer Grenadiers, and the Vickers just retreats. And now, yeah, that 2-man 6-pounder crew No threat, and Princess is going to surrender this one. All right, so we saw a slight change to the build order this time around, and I think it was really interesting considering the change in map, right? So Djebel Pass, I kind of covered it in the cast, but it's a much bigger map. Still, the cutoff play is available, but there's less fuel, and so with the space and the cutoff play, I think it starts to favor the DAK and light vehicle play. It should encourage the Brit player to lean into some of those light vehicles like Dingo, the Humber, potentially the Stewart or the Crusader. What we saw from Princess was a similar start. 2 Sappers, Dingo, 2 sections. This time into 2 shock sections from the Canadians and a 6-pounder, and then a Vickers. And then basically a stall into the Crocodile, which I think, considering how well Princess controlled fuel through most of this game, and even the first game, you're allowing your opponent back into the game. Remember, the Piats are decent at countering light vehicles, but something like a flak furling that's very mobile and a suppression platform can usually move in, suppress them. It might eat one shot, but can back away. So I think I would have almost rather seen a revisit of the previous build, a single shock section into a double Stewart maybe, or with all that fuel control, just lean into tier 4. Don't stall for the Crocodile. Instead, focus on getting Crusaders out. The mobility is really nasty. The DAK, in particular, Elk's build didn't have a lot of hard counters to the Crusaders. Unlike the Humber or the Stewart that can be kind of countered by the Panzerjagers, Crusaders got a lot more health and a lot more armor, so it can tank some more shots before it needs to retreat. Something to kind of keep in mind there. So think about how the map and your opponent plays into your build. Up against DAK as Brits on a wide open map, you need to be prepared to counter that mobility. And I think that's where the change to Princess's build from game 1 to game 2 actually took them further away from an effective build and into an area where they had to make up that ground with micro, and they just couldn't make it happen. Almost did, but couldn't make it happen. On the opposite side for Elk, at the very least, you saw a little bit less of an investment in infantry. So same initial build, Panzer Pioneers, Krautschützen, 2 Panzer Grenadiers, Panzerjager call in into the flak furling, right? And then tier 4 Panzer IIIs, Assault Grenadiers a little bit later in the game, and MG34 early, excuse me. I think, again, the static team weapons put you a little bit at risk in a map like this. The MG34 does not suppress that quickly. There's enough green cover. So I think the flak furling's the right choice. I don't know that the MG34 was all that valuable. I would have rather had a third squad of Panzer Grenadiers who, when supported by Panzerjagers and a flak furling, can go toe-to-toe with anything the Brits have, especially once you get veteran squad leaders and the MG34 LMGs on them. Elk did a really good job using the Battlegroup abilities, in particular the S-Mines and some of the Regals. I will say, though, so with some mines, there can be value in getting really aggressive with placement. Anytime you're laying down mines, especially something like a Regal that is expensive, a heavy anti-tank mine, think about your ability to capitalize. If a vehicle gets an engine crit right here, basically engine destroyed critical, do I have the ability to immediately follow up and capitalize? And if you don't, then that mine placement might be just a little bit too aggressive. In some cases, placing mines to prevent dives, because Crusader dives and Stewart dives can be really, really nasty if they happen at the right time, those can be game saving for you and really flip engagements. So that's kind of what I would consider. Again, this is a map where the mobility is really important. So I would either consider, going a second Panzer Pioneer, an early 250, the Granat Buchse upgrade from the Battlegroup. That plus 300% penetration is really nice when you're dealing with Hummers, when you're dealing with Dingoes, at helping your units kind of fight off some of those really valuable Brit light vehicles. Again, as long as you're not losing those half tracks, you take less manpower damage. You can lean more into your upgrades. And then thinking about playing like a quick tier 3 build, the flak furling is really valuable. Maybe the 8-rod, if you have the fuel control, an 8-rod heavy build early into tier 4. I think the P3 train at the end, like that is a good solution. If you invest more into the upgrades, consider armored reserves, getting a Panzer IV out. Everyone wants to go for the Tiger, but think about the mobility aspect of it, which I think plays huge into this map. So, and then I kind of want to think about the transition from game 1 to game 2. In this case, from Elk's point of view, he played a good game in game 1, but ultimately lost based on the quality of his infantry versus the quality of the British infantry, right? And then the crocodile hitting the field. So if you're going into the next game, now you have to make some assumptions about what your opponent will do. If it's me going from Langres to Djebel Pass, I'm thinking a little bit more, again, about the mobility aspect, and I'm still worried about the Humber, the Stuarts hitting the field. In fact, because I saw 2 Stuarts in the Langres match, I would assume that I'm going to see 2 Stuarts on Djebel Pass. In that case, I think you saw a little bit of that reaction with the less investment into early infantry for Elk. He didn't build the assault grenadiers until later when he got them via half-track Colin. He didn't build the second tank busters. So smart play there. I would consider thinking about some of the other build trees that are available to you, like in DAK, maybe going tier 3 as opposed to tier 2. If you see that your flak filling play is effective, which it was in game 1, then there's a reason to stay and lean into that in game 2. On the opposite hand, for Princess, I don't know that the lesson that I took away from game 1 is, oh, we need more Canadian shock troopers. That one shock section was really effective, but largely what helped Princess win that first game was the strength of infantry and the ability to continue to kind of advance and control the fuel and harass on the flanks. So I don't know. I think I would have invested into a third, potentially even a fourth section if you want to play infantry heavy. Invest in infantry training early, get those recce package upgrades or Brens. You start to trade out the DAK infantry, and then just come up with a solution to manage the flak filling. To me, that's probably a Humber early. The 6-pounder, it was used fairly well, but still it's a risk on such an open map. You have to keep it oriented the right way. I would rather have a Humber, a Stuart, or a Crusader. And then lastly, think about, for both players, the impacts of piecemealing your units into engagements. You might have a really good army composition, but if your units only impact the enemy one at a time, you'll end up losing engagements over and over again. Your units will spend more time being repaired or in base, healing up and being reinforced than they are on the field. There's value in massing, like not really diving until you've got 2 or 3 Panzer IIIs, like you saw on the field point. The 3 Panzer IIIs overwhelmed the Crusader and the Sappers there. That was a big pickup for Elk. So consider that. And if you're really, really clever about it, and you keep those units hidden from your enemy until you have 2 or 3 of them, the shock of that appearing, your enemy might be completely unprepared. And that in and of itself can cause enough wipes and enough destruction that you just win the game outright by forcing a surrender. So something to kind of keep in mind. Anyway, I really enjoyed this one. GG, well played to both Princess and SmeltedElk. Thank you for sending this one in. I hope you guys got something out of it. To everyone else, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all in the next one.